9:30. And let's see, our first item is to call our meeting to order and introduction of staff and public. So can you guys, do you want to go ahead and do a roll call?
Yes. Chair Sorgman,
Here.
Vice Chair Marston.
Here.
Committee Member Kovich.
Here.
Committee Member Kuntz.
Here.
Committee Member Luckett.
Here.
Committee Member Rassler.
Here.
Committee Member Tejada. Council Member Oscar Gutierrez. Brian Demore.
Here.
John Doimus. Sarita King.
Here.
Lilani?
Here.
Okay. All right. So next item is committee member reports and staff announcements.
Well, just a quick one. I've been going by the new the Film Festival Theater that's being remodeled. And just in the last couple of days, they've actually put the ramp in, all the rebars in and the forming, so I was able to finally see what the ramp's gonna look like. So it's moving along anyway. They're doing a lot of work there.
And this is at the Granada Theater,
No, at the Film Festival Theater. The
which
one on
is
State Street.
Metro 5.
the Metro 5. That's right. That's right. Okay. Thank you.
900 block.
900 bucks. All right.
Yeah, they've stripped everything out of all the studios there, or all the theaters. Everything looks new. New plumbing too, and new HVAC systems, right?
Okay.
Jim, you shared some information with me about something that's happening, proposed to happen in that same building that kind of relates to the AAC. Can you share that?
Yeah, I was approached a few weeks ago from a lady who is in a lot of nonprofit work. And they were putting together a meeting space and a coffee shop to serve all inclusive people with disabilities, including physical, mental, intellectual. No. Okay. Anyway, it's going to be a meeting place with art and music and a stage there and just coffee and tea. But they want some people to help them design how to make an all-inclusive place for all sorts of people.
Very cool.
And this is at the same location?
It's where the crush cakes used to be. Was it?
Oh, no.
The cookie shop,
place.
not the crush cakes.
Okay.
There was a cookie shop in the news a while back that was quite controversial about their they were losing their city lease, so I assume this is a city building, and
Right. And from what I understand, the city is, they own it and they're leasing it out and they're helping, supposedly they're going to help with all the permitting and stuff. They're trying to get it done by February, so I don't know if that can work, but
very, very interesting.
yeah.
All right. Skylar?
Yeah, I'm definitely open to helping as sort of a blind representative. And my initial thought is that there's lots of interesting technology items, but it's only going to be as good as the training of their employees for understanding how to navigate assistance for people with different disabilities. So yeah, happy to do more on that.
So how do we connect individuals who want to help to design this and give input? Does anyone know who the contact person is?
Well, I do. I've met her a few times, so contact me and I'll set you up with a meeting. I'd like to get you and Nick especially.
Well, and Skylar, because he also wants to
right.
add. Okay. All right, so then we will do
We'll
this.
talk
After-
offline on that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Hi, Suzanne.
So we're going to add
I
Suzanne.
also wanted to say that Bob Burnham and I are meeting with a lady named Claudia Dunn to discuss possibly narrating some of the film festival films for the blind,
Oh, good.
so that they can know what's going on action-wise. So we will be meeting today and see if we can approach Roger about doing that for a couple films for the blind community.
That would be great, thanks.
Karen, on that line, on that note, it occurs to me that AI might be really useful. So if you find the process tedious, that you might get some help if the audio could be made available. AI could process it and give you an outline that you could then edit more quickly and then narrate that script. Anyway, just a thought.
All right, so does staff have any announcements?
The only thing real quick for me, I think the last time we met, the city was still deciding what to do with the Public Works Director position. And there was a little bit of a surprise in terms of what was decided, but they split Public Works into two departments, Public Works and Water Resources. So I was appointed Public Works Director. Joshua Hagmark is the new Water Resources Department Director. That was effective, I think, sometime in September, so since the last time we met. So I just wanted to give the update on that. I'm still here as ADA coordinator, so I haven't delegated that down yet. I do plan to do that, but there's just a lot of shifting happening right now, and I felt like it's one thing that I've got a pretty good handle on what's happening with this committee, and I don't want to cause too much disruption with the team of handing that off too quickly. So I'll continue to be involved, but I am looking for an exit plan on that. It won't be a complete separation, though, because I've enjoyed, this has been one of the, I think one of the areas where I see where I can bring value and have a positive impact on the community. One of many areas, hopefully, but I do want to continue to be involved, whether I'm ADA coordinator or not, as we move forward. So,
Go ahead, Skylar.
So was ADA coordinator your full-time job, or was it like one of several parts of your job before you were director?
yes, it's always been one of several parts of my job.
So it would be another city staff person who's already there, probably.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to just say congratulations on the appointment. I think it's really very exciting, and love the thought of you continuing with us as long as you can, and you'll find the right replacement.
Yeah, I think on behalf of all the committee members, we'd just like to say thank you for still allocating time and trying to make the transition as seamless as possible. So much appreciated, because I know that you have to be a very busy person.
Yes, especially when it's raining.
I too want to thank you for your continued involvement. I always knew we would lose you, and I feared for who we might get. But I was kind of encouraged when I got to know Craig, but I'm not seeing him. Is that kind of maybe changing directions?
I don't think so. He's definitely going to be very involved, whether he's the ADA coordinator or not. That was the original plan when we brought him on board. It's just he's been busy building a team, and it hasn't felt like the right time to hand it off to him yet. So we'll just see how that goes. He'll be here later today presenting on the transition plan.
Great.
All right, do we have any member?
I have one more question
Oh.
for Brian. Just
Go ahead.
a quick summary. Can you tell me exactly what's in the Water Resource Department besides the wells and the,
Yeah.
Besides water?
So yeah, Water Resources Department, it's a very large city department, even after this split from Public Works. But we have an extremely diverse water supply portfolio. I think they like to describe it as the most diverse in the state. But if you think about just what we have here locally, with a reservoir on the other side of the mountains, we do have a bunch of wells, groundwater wells, so that's part of the supply. They've been rested for a long stretch, so they're actually well positioned for when we do get into our next drought cycle. And then we have the treatment plant, Cater. We treat our own water. We distribute that water to our community and to people outside of city limits. So we're kind of a regional water supplier. And then on the collection side, of course, we collect all of the wastewater, and that goes to El Estero Treatment Plant, where we run that. And there's a recycled water plant, so some of the wastewater gets turned into water that can be used for irrigation. And then, those systems that we have, the collection system and the distribution system, there's pump stations and lift stations and reservoirs associated with that. So it's a very complex, large network. And then the department also deals with statewide water supply. We're part of the state water system, so there's a lot of kind of buying and selling and trading of water in that space. So they're a very busy, very large department, and like I said, kind of the big player here regionally when it comes to water supply.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also have one last announcement, that today is my final meeting with the group, and I'm retiring or resigning, whatever. So hopefully someone else will be taking the position.
Right. So actually, I was going to save this for the ADA coordinator report, but
Okay.
since you've brought it up now, the committee and staff did want to recognize you, Karen, for your service to the community. I think it's been, well, it probably says it in here, so I'll read what we have put together. On behalf of the members of the City of Santa Barbara's Access Advisory Committee and city staff, I would like to thank you for your service as a committee member from December 2021 through December 2025. I guess it doesn't officially expire until the end of the calendar year, but this is the last meeting. Your contributions have been significant. Specifically, we want to express our gratitude to you for your insight and contributions related to special events. You brought this up a lot during the AAC meetings and have been in a lot of ad hoc meetings on the subject, and you've done a lot of work outside of those meetings as well. So we thank you for that. Been a lot of direct coordination with city staff and event organizers. The achievements of the Access Advisory Committee are due in large part to your leadership, hard work, and commitment as an advocate for people with disabilities. Once again, thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
And a certificate of appreciation, and the letter is here. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to just say one sort of leave. When the city council met about, I believe it was your yearly report, we talked about how the special events are coming together to allow access for the disability community. And one thing that stuck with me was Michael Jordan saying that we need to make all events, not just big special events and parades, accessible to the disabled community. So I hope that the committee here makes good progress with that. And my special last request is that we get a elevator in the city building, and that we work on making the boards on the wharf more flatter.
Which city building?
City Hall?
Oh, City Hall, got it.
So that's what I want to leave with. The city of San Luis dipped into their ADA funds to actually redo the whole boardwalk on Moonstone Beach to make it flatter and less hewn. So hopefully we can find funds somewhere.
All right, then, thank you, Karen.
Okay, Karen.
All right, so we have any, I guess it's open to public comment. Do we have any members, or did I already ask that? Okay, no, all right. So approval of the minutes. We have
Motion to
a
approve.
motion. Well, it also says the recommendation that the Access Advisory Committee waive further readings and approve the minutes from the regular meeting of August. Okay, so Who wants to make that motion then?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All those who are opposed to approving the minutes, please speak up now. So there's no opposition, so that means that it gets approved unanimously. Thank you. All right, so the ADA coordinators report.
Not a lot for you today. Has been a busy week, as you can imagine, with the rainfall in the forecast, and it indeed came. I do want to let you know that the schedule for 2026, Access Advisory Committee schedule for 2026 has been posted. It is available online, but I'm going to read it off here just so you're aware. These are all Fridays and continue to meet quarterly. So February 20th, May 15th, August 21st, and November 13th. Those are the planned dates for 2026. If committee members are aware of any conflicts with those dates, please reach out to staff, and we can reschedule if we need to. But typically, putting these this far out in advance, you're able to make
And
it.
they're on a printout over on the counter there. If,
Okay.
you want to pick them up as well. I do know that August 21st is a conflict for me.
Okay.
And I cannot attend that meeting, but otherwise, everything's okay. But I don't think you need to reschedule just for me either.
All right, so is that the end of your report?
Yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you.
All right, so then we have the State Street Master Plan update.
Good morning, committee members. My name is Tess Harris. I'm the State Street Master Planner in the City Administrator's Office and do a number of different special projects. I'm here today to talk just briefly about what is sort of what the plan is for moving forward with the State Street Master Plan, and then I'm also happy to answer questions for things that are happening in the shorter term on State Street. I also have Ms. Clark here with me today who works on downtown efforts as well. And then I'll talk a little bit about the city center concept, which includes the Paseo Nuevo project as well. So I'll just give a brief update if that's all right with the committee. To start out, so the State Street Master Plan project has taken a few different turns. The latest was on October 21st. Staff went to City Council to terminate the contract that we had with the consultant and use the funds to finish up the master plan with a different group. So we have hired Mullen Palazoides. Stefanos Palazoides has done is a very well-known architect in the country and has done a number of different master plans, university campuses, and overall community projects. I think the one sort of, or one near us is the city of Pasadena, and has done quite a bit of their downtown work for that city, but has really done things all over. So I'm really pleased to have them on board. One of the things that really drew us to that decision was a workshop that we did with staff and a group of local architects that had an interest in the State Street work efforts. They had presented to the State Street Advisory Committee about a year ago now. And then Stefanos and his team came in to really take that body of work and start to talk with staff about how we really focus on what we're now calling the heart of the city, or the city center area. What will likely come from this sort of change in work effort is a timeline, is a quick timeline to get a draft plan out to the public in the first quarter of 2026. With that plan, the focus is going to be around what we are calling the city center blocks. So those are the blocks between Ortega and Carrillo Street, as really sort of this primary focal point when you have Paseo Nuevo, De La Guerra Plaza, City Hall, El Paseo, sort of all in this space. It also aligns really well with the Presidio neighborhood boundary, which is just to the east of the State Street Master Plan boundary. It actually sort of comes right up to it. And that boundary goes from Garden Street over up to State Street, same from Ortega to Carrillo Street. So being able to create more of a neighborhood component in the downtown core with that emphasis. What that means is not that work will not occur on other blocks, and I want to be very clear there. Work will still occur on the full master plan boundary, so there will be changes between the 400 blocks all the way up to the 1300 block or Sola Street, so from Gutierrez to Sola Street, which is where the master plan boundary is, Chapala and Anacapa, with the focus primarily, though, on State Street itself, less so on Chapala and Anacapa as we've gone through this project and just recognizing the costs and sort of emphasis needed on State Street. Where we are envisioning sort of that city center space to take the most hold, or why that might look different, is we are really wanting to use that space as the primary space to at least start out with the concept of the flat and flexible approach, meaning that there would be no curbs. The street would go from really from building frontage to building frontage without having to step down for those 3 blocks. So that would be sort of the primary focal point for those blocks, and we're in the design stages there right now. Another piece that came to City Council on October 21st was around a stormwater analysis or stormwater program, and so we are looking at we are doing a feasibility analysis right now for those 3 blocks, the blocks from Ortega to Carrillo Street, to identify what kind of a stormwater system we could put into the street itself before flattening out the street, in order to, for a couple of reasons. I think one of the primary reasons is that section of the street does not have any kind of storm drain, as you'll note today. If you go out there, it's all on the street itself. So that creates a problem for a number of reasons. But also we are finding that one of the big factors in redevelopment downtown is stormwater and the challenges that developers face when trying to meet our stormwater requirements when buildings are up from building to building. There's 0 setbacks, just really challenging to actually get the stormwater improvements that you might traditionally get on a residential lot, but are really hard in an urban environment. And so the feasibility analysis, what we are looking at right now is essentially if we could create a system where at least businesses around that area could potentially use it as sort of an in lieu system, or pay into some kind of a fund and use that larger public stormwater capture area to capture a larger amount of flow. And not have a separate stormwater system on each individual business or each individual project on State Street. The hope with that is that that will help with some of the redevelopment spark and just sort of help as developers are contemplating what to do, or property owners what to do on their properties, might help with that decision. In terms of timeline, as I mentioned, we're looking at getting a draft done in early 2026. So right now, staff is really focused on getting the plan to a point where it can be shared with the public. We will be going back to the State Street Advisory Committee after bringing forward the plan to City Council. In the first quarter of 2026, we'll be sharing it with the State Street Advisory Committee, of which Committee Member Tejada is a part of, and then it will be available for the public to comment on as well before we finalize the plan. So there is a lot of movement there. I don't have a lot of updates or designs to show at this point that are different than what this committee has seen, and I do expect that I will have something to share with all of you in your next meeting or shortly thereafter. But really, I'm here if you have questions or comments that you'd like us to be considering, in addition to what I have already heard from this committee. Certainly open to hearing that. I wanted to also just briefly touch on, because while the State Street sort of interim operations, or what's happening on the street today is different from the State Street master plan, and what exists today is not going to be what necessarily exists in the long term, but they are related, and we are learning a lot. One of the things I want to highlight is the Loop shuttle that we came and spoke with this committee about a while back, and had launched May 30th and is coming up to its term in November. It's been really successful. We've had a number of, so when somebody takes the shuttle, they have the opportunity to fill out a survey, and then we also have the drivers fill out a survey at the end of their shifts to help us identify the different passengers that chose to use it, different stops and things like that. And I wanted to share with you some of the results, and then I'll talk a bit about why that is important when we're thinking about the master plan. So first, just sharing, we've had 16,122 riders over the last about 5 months or so, with about 710 riders every weekend. So it operates Thursday through Sunday, 12 to 7 p.m., going up from Cabrillo up to Sola Street and back in a loop. We've had an almost even split of locals and visitors, which, the city was pleased to see that it's about 47% are locals and about 53% are tourists that have been riding it so far. And then have a mix between shopping and sightseeing and food and drink and entertainment and other. There is a pretty even mix spread throughout those, with the highest being sightseeing and shopping. But what I also wanted to highlight really for this committee are the different passengers that use it that have Americans with Disabilities accommodations. So we have broken it down for somebody that is using the shuttle with a wheelchair, with a support animal that has a visual impairment, or is using mobility aids. On average, we have about between 60 and 85 passengers weekly that use it, that have some kind of accommodation. And I'm happy to go through the breakdown, but on average, it's about 10 to 15 that use it with a wheelchair. It's about the same with a support animal, more with a visual impairment, about 15 to 25. Same with mobility aids, ranging from about 20 to 30 passengers on a weekly basis. And so, I think one of the things that it has highlighted for staff is the real importance of having some kind of a system that travels up and down State Street to take passengers to different destinations that they may choose. The shuttle is a pilot project, and certainly recognizing that it was a starting point as we were in the midst of a transition with a street that doesn't allow larger vehicles on the street in the current configuration. And so this being an option to still allow that flow of pedestrians up and down the street while we're finalizing the master plan. I think what it does share from the master plan standpoint is that deep need for, which we've heard throughout, but that deep need for some kind of a trolley system or bus or larger shuttle to go up and down State Street. One of the things right now is that has been a shuttle that's been free of charge over the last 6 months, and is just sort of a nice amenity to be able to offer our residents and tourists. So I wanted to share that with you. We are looking at doing sort of a month-to-month extension with the thought that we will be then pursuing a request for proposals to make sure that as we are moving forward, we're getting sort of the best, the best that we can have on the street.
Tess,
Yes.
for clarification, we're talking about the little golf carts?
Yes.
Okay. And have we looked at, cost per ride on that?
We have a little bit. So the first 6 months has been subsidized significantly by Friends of State Street.
Yep.
So there has been less of a cost for the city over the first 6 months. It's been a little under $100,000 in total. So it averages, I believe, about $6 to $7 a rider, which is very similar with the cost that MTD had when they operated the shuttle on State Street. It was about six something, right there, $6 or so.
But the Friends of the subsidy is drying up now?
That's correct. So, so they have, helped for the first 6 months, but if the city elects to move forward and continue to offer the service, it would be something that the city would be taking on that cost.
And approximately how much of that total 100,000 is allocated from the Friends versus the city?
It's actually, the city pays about $100,000. Friends of State Street, I don't have the exact amount that they have contributed, but pays a portion beyond the $100,000.
Got it. So
It might be around 30,000, but please don't
Okay,
quote me
so
on
the-
that. I don't know the exact number.
yeah, that's fine. Just so I understand, you're saying the cost per ride is just to the city, not inclusive of what subsidy we might have gotten from the downtown businesses.
So that I see what you're asking, committee member. So that cost, and I did not do the math before this, so I don't have the exact amount. It's probably a little bit over $6 when you add into that account. One of the things we are looking at as well is adding an additional ADA compliant cart to the system. So right now there's one of 3, and if we were to pursue this, looking at adding an additional cart, at least in the short term, so that we could move passengers more quickly up and down the street.
I would caution you about using the word compliant with regards to that cart.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you and I had a conversation, so can you
Yes.
give us an update as to what you found?
Sure, yeah. So we have provided all the specifications for ADA to the business, and they have implemented them to our understanding, with the exception of, I know there was a concern around the height of the cart. The city doesn't own the cart, so I do want to emphasize that. We don't own our own carts, at least at the moment. So actually dismantling the cart to raise it is not something that could happen unless you're purchasing a separate cart itself. So we are leasing the carts at the moment.
Right. So my initial question to you was, who confirmed, after the committee looked at and made recommendations on what needed to be modified in the shuttle, who confirmed and what qualifications did that group have to ensure that this really complied? So I know from city staff
Yes.
doesn't deal with, review of shuttles. We
Right.
do the CBC. We don't even enforce the ADA. So I'm still
Right.
asking who confirmed
So we
that?
initially did have our CASP staff, a member come out, but you're right, they're really focused more on the building side of things. One of the requirements of the contract is that they're following the ADA requirements, and so that's in their contract. They made modifications subsequent to coming to this committee. And, that is really all I have at the moment. We don't have somebody on staff that does transportation. We also don't have, there's not somebody on MTD that does that for other operators.
Okay. So I just want to point out, a lot of the documentation that the city has put out for businesses says that they need to be ADA compliant. Businesses don't know how to do that. And so I'm still wary of the fact that you're banking on the person who's providing the service to say that they're compliant when they may not even have they probably don't have the expertise to be able to say that that's true. And so you have no idea really if it's compliant or not.
And my
So I'm
concern-
happy to answer. So I want to just make one comment. It is really challenging to find somebody from I asked this committee, if you have somebody that there have been a couple people that have been recommended to us that have retired and are not doing this line of work anymore. It is challenging to find somebody that does this kind of review for a transportation vehicle, as like a CASP would do for a building. So certainly open to that, and certainly open to having somebody come inspect the carts. Our understanding is that they are meeting requirements, but I'm more than happy to have that happen. I just don't know who the right person is, and so I'd ask if you have an idea of who that might be, it would be really helpful to get that information.
So my concern related is that the city should be wary of using the word compliant when we don't know that's the case. Maybe accessible shuttle. I think that's valid, but
Yeah.
Certainly fair. I will use accessible.
Okay.
Yes.
And I
Can you
will,
remember.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, my question is on a different topic than the golf cart, so maybe you can go first.
Okay, just, the City of San Diego's ADA coordinator, Alex, retired, I think, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And so she was in charge of their program that had the shuttles at the beach. So I will reach out to her to see if she can recommend someone or she knows what those guidelines might be.
That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Committee
So-
Member Kovich.
to your left.
Oh, the microphone's on. Thanks. So the flat and flexible portion of State Street, obviously there are lots of good reasons to not have curbs, but I'm wondering if there would be tactile domes to make sure that someone would make sure to be aware of when they're moving to a different block or turning off of the street.
Great point. Yes, we are looking into that. We're actually looking into that sooner than later for differentiation of the bike lanes versus the pedestrian areas and trying to think about the delineators that could exist, especially if you have a flat street. But regardless, to be able to have something that is low level that a vehicle, like an emergency vehicle, could still be able to go through when needed, but that gives that visual cue. Or that cue in general for somebody.
That would be great. Yeah, I know that UCSB has a lot of experience with tactile domes for bike lanes. So it could be good to reach out to their people.
Absolutely.
So I have a question. You mentioned that there were, I guess, 16,200 plus or minus people that participated or took rides. What is the percentage of individuals that responded to the survey?
That is a great question. Let me see if I have that.
I mean, because if only 10 people responded, then that doesn't reflect, reality, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think they get about 600 to 700 responders a weekend. So it looks like last weekend they got, let's see. So it was about 590 responders out of about 830 riders.
Wow.
All right, so then out of 800 people who took the shuttle, 590 people responded to the survey?
That's what it, and let me just double check. Let me double check my math.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a huge group of people, but that's incredible. If that's the truth, that's really great.
So are they taking the survey while they're on the bus?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a short survey, so it asks what best describes you. Are you local, visiting town, other? What's your primary purpose of your ride today? And then the driver actually is the one that puts in the accommodations, I believe. They also ask, did you enjoy your ride? What can we do better? And how many people are in your group?
Yeah. I mean, that's an incredible percentage of people participating, so that, I mean, that's really great.
It's been a really great,
Yeah.
it's been a really overall positive pilot. I think it's been, we get feedback from a lot of different members of the community, just anecdotally via email, that'll say, one of the more recent ones was there was an older couple that lives not too far, just off of Victoria, and sent a note in saying they like to go to State Street every day. They use it for walking and for, just sort of seeing as part of their neighborhood, and they use the shuttle just about every weekend.
So I'm just wondering, I know that there's been a lot of publicity from the group that just formed to try to beautify State Street and what they're doing and their concerns and desires to open up State Street again to traffic. Wouldn't the trolley be maybe part of that solution, if you guys are getting such great participation, to increase how many days, so that then you're bringing a lot of locals and tourists to the businesses up and down State Street. So that might be, a solution that works for both groups, and also for, disabled
Yes,
participants.
great point, committee member. So we have been looking at other options as potential options moving forward, and the trolley comes up very, very often. I have a lot of fond memories taking my kids when the open air trolley was here still up and down State Street, and just using it from a work standpoint. I would often jump on it and go get lunch somewhere else. And that is something we are exploring. The challenge with that is that that specific trolley is no longer in operation. The parts are no longer being manufactured. And so that's why you see the smaller closed buses that MTD operates that have a little bit of a similar feel, but not quite the same. They're not that open air environment. So that's something that has been expressed as being important from a community standpoint, just from the different outreach we've done. So we're looking at other alternatives for something that gives a little bit of a different feel than a traditional bus, but that also meets requirements and isn't the same size as a regular larger scale bus, but a little bit smaller to travel up and down State Street.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of the smaller MTD bus in terms of accessibility. I feel like if the cost per ride is similar, I think you're getting more value for the bigger vehicle, and more accessibility, and frankly a more elegant, suited solution for our city. The golf carts are kind of cheesy in my opinion. Do you have any insights into, one of the questions on the survey was the purpose of the rides. Can you share that with us?
I can, yes. So I have a couple different, I have last week's, which I can, I have each week actually, but I'll share last week's and then I'll share overall. So last week, we had about 99 riders share that they were using it for sightseeing, 143 share it was being used for entertainment, 95 share it was being used for food and drink, 187 indicating it was used for shopping, 4 indicating it was used for work. That's a little bit different than on average what we're seeing. On average, we're seeing about 35% using it for shopping, 24% using it for sightseeing, 22% using it for food and drink, 15% using it for entertainment, and 3% for other, which is typically work.
Okay. And then can you provide, are we done with the trolley or?
One quick
Yeah, I have some
thought.
questions.
Okay.
One quick thought on that is I'm guessing that some portion of those, there's a parking component involved in their use, right? And that should maybe be considered in the questionnaire as a future add, because I bet that every one of those categories is also, or some portion of them are also using it to get to and from parking, and it may be worth considering when it comes to how we're funding this. I would certainly like to see the parking get more funding, and I don't know.
Committee member Coons, we can look at adding potentially a line item in that survey so that we understand whether people are using it to get to their parking spot or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Karen, you had a comment?
Yes, when we first brought the carts here, we talked about getting into it, and there was some blockage of metal that needed to be moved. And I think there was also a height issue. Do you know if those modifications were made?
I do know that the issue getting into the cart with the metal barriers, that was changed, along with the ramp, that was changed, and the side of the cart was changed. The actual physical height of the cart was not changed because, again, we don't own the vehicles, and that requires taking the entire roof off and then building, essentially building a new golf cart. And because it's a pilot program and the city's not ready to commit to it long-term, that was not something that was pursued at this time.
And then a couple weeks ago, or a month ago, at the city council meeting, one of the community members had mentioned that he did use the cart, but he was concerned that the tie downs weren't correct for safety purposes. Do you know if that has been
I
corrected?
believe they did modifications to that. I will confirm that, and I can get
Okay,
a
'cause
response
that's a
back
big
to you. But
safety issue.
yes, I do believe they made that change.
And then on another, couple other questions. So is the plan to make State Street flat with the sidewalks in that designated area you talked about up to Carrillo?
Right now, those 3 blocks I mentioned in the city, that is the plan that we anticipate taking forward to council. So we're looking at just sort of the overall feasibility, making sure there's capacity in the street for that stormwater element as well. But that is the plan, is if we were going to do that larger scale, flat and flexible approach, that we would be focused on those 3 blocks in the center to do that.
Okay. And then at the Faulkner, like a year or two ago, the architects came up with a plan to put a bunch of Santa Barbara style fancy archways all over the city and passageways. Do you know if that is going to be incorporated into the plan, or maybe even something on State Street on both ends to say, oh, now you're in the downtown or the city center?
Yes, committee member. We are anticipating gateways as part of the plan. So there has been conversation around a gateway that would be at the end of the 400 block of State Street to sort of emphasize the entrance point or exit point, along with up either on Victoria or Sola Street for the similar reason. And then we've been talking about doing something potentially a little bit different in those center block areas, so which would sort of distinguish the 3 zones. But whether those are archways or a different style like wrought iron gate or some other feature to show that you're entering really that sort of different flat and flexible environment, that will definitely be considered.
Okay, thank you.
I think one other just really quick I wanted to highlight is I just briefly mentioned it, but part of the sort of this flat and flexible city center piece, again, it's City Hall, De La Guerra Plaza, which is a project that's ongoing right now, and also Paseo Nuevo. And I wanted to highlight that for this group. You know, there's been a lot of different things in the media about that project. That disposition agreement is going before council on December 2nd. And it is a project anticipating significantly more housing right in the downtown core. And I just want to sort of wanted to mention that in particular because regardless of whether that project goes through or not, a real foundational piece of the master plan is getting more people to actually live downtown all times of the day. Right now we have an extremely underutilized residential square footage, or just less representative of what successful downtowns have. So many downtowns have at least, at a minimum, about 25% of their square footage dedicated to residential. We have between 3 and 5%. And when you look at the map, there's high density all around State Street and Chapala and Anacapa, but there is very, very, very low density, very minimal number of residential units in the core. And so one of the, it's the master plan is wonderful and can have this really amazing feel to it, but the success of it is going to rely on additional people living downtown and having more residents that are there at 6 a.m. grabbing a cup of coffee or walking their dog or taking their kids to school, and also at 6 p.m. or 8 p.m. coming home from work, and having those eyes and ears on the street at all times is something that is really important and that we are not seeing right now. And so trying to emphasize the need for housing in the downtown core will be a large factor for the master plan.
I have a few questions on the shuttle. I've always been a proponent, oops. I've always, am I mic on now? I've always been a proponent of using the MTD shuttle, which is, they were purchased because we had a contract with MTD, but then it was canceled. So they have extra shuttles. The infrastructure's already there. You said the cost is pretty much the same as the golf cart per passenger, right? And the MTD shuttle has much more capacity. So I hope you could still think about just seeing if you could use the larger MTD electric shuttles on State Street. And then I'm on State Street almost every day, and what I see is two things I have questions about. Number one, it's hard to know where to stand to get the golf cart. I see some people flagging them down, and they'll stop sometimes, and sometimes they won't. But I don't understand how everybody's supposed to know how to get onto the shuttle. There's no signage about that. And the other thing is, do you advertise this at the downtown hotels and the waterfront hotels? Or how do visitors know about this, that you can actually flag down this free shuttle?
Committee member, great point. And it's been something that has been something that we've heard and we are planning. If it moves forward, we will be making some changes to. There actually are signs on the street right now for the shuttle, but they're relatively small. They're similar in size to what the old MTD signs were. And so it is challenging for people, I think, not realizing those are there and where they are. There's about one sign per block. They alternate on each side. We also had put a star on the actual asphalt that has faded over time, so you can still see them out there, but very much need to be redone. So it's very visible that is a stop point. We've been waiting to do that because the contract is nearly expired, and so not wanting to go out and do that work unless we know that there'll be sort of continued transportation there. But it is a concern that's been raised. I think the other piece is they have been occasionally taking people if they're flagging them down. I have noticed as well that sometimes they will stop for that. So that's a conversation that I plan to have with the operator should it continue, of perhaps changing the model a little bit and doing that more frequently. And then we'll need to have some additional outreach if it moves forward and continues, to make people aware of where those stops are and that they can potentially flag down carts that have availability.
If I may, a suggestion. How long is the contract till the end of the year for sure?
So the contract currently expires November 23rd. So we're going to council actually next Tuesday for an extension. It would be a month-to-month extension up to 6 months. So it would end, unless it was extended again, it would end May 31st of 2026.
I would just encourage you almost immediately, but 23rd is pretty close. Repaint those stars, especially ahead of the holiday season. We'll have a lot more people downtown. They ought to know where they can get on and get off easily. There's just no reason not to do that. And always the notion of waiting until something's, we know if it's going to happen. Well, we've got another couple of weeks, and those couple of weeks are important for people to be able to use the service.
Absolutely. I'll work with our downtown team and try to get that happening as quickly as possible. I think the other piece is maybe...
if it doesn't get continued, it's easy enough to paint those over.
Yeah.
So just no reason not to do it, just in my mind.
Great point. I think also potentially making them larger than what we had before, just so they're very visible to somebody. Right now, they're still relatively large, but making them at least the size of this podium, if not bigger.
And any input on how the information gets to the tourists at the hotels? That was my other question that I had.
Yes. So initially there was some outreach that was done to to Visit Santa Barbara and the different hoteliers along the waterfront and on State Street itself. I think we'll need to do that again to remind them that this is an option moving that might move forward. We had some. I know initially Hotel California was aware of it and had been using it. They actually also have their own golf carts where you could, if you're down there, sometimes you may see some of them sort of transporting them. We had a little bit of caution because we wanted to make sure that it didn't become solely a system that was used by visitors or hotels, and because of the limited number of seats, we didn't want it to sort of be marketed as something, as sort of an additional offering that a hotel may have when they're not paying, they themselves are not paying for the service. So there's been a little bit of a balance there, but there'll be more outreach if it moves forward.
So if I may, I think there are, two issues that cross right over. We want this service available for, local people that would take advantage of it, disabled or not. Great service and wonderful. We want our tourists to take advantage of it so that the local businesses, have traffic and do better financially. I was going to say, until your comment, well, don't forget to have a brochure, at the tables that are set out when the cruise ships come in.
Yep.
So that those people know that once they get downtown, they can get up and down State Street really easily. They don't have to worry about an Uber or, whatever else. And it's a tremendous amenity that should be offered. And we ought to encourage, in my mind, our visitors, short-term or long-term, to take advantage of it and to use it and to realize what an incredible place Santa Barbara is. And, geez, where better to spend their money than somewhere on State Street?
Yeah, absolutely. You reminded me, we do have a brochure that is passed out by the drivers of the golf cart. It has the map, and then it has a QR code that'll take you to the map online as well. And I believe earlier on, Friends of State Street had helped with putting that brochure together and then disseminating it out. So I'll need to confirm with them on where they where they placed that initially, but that's something that we could easily put in a lot of other places.
The little stand-up pop-up tents on State Street where the cruise ship come in. Every time there's one here, and there's 20 to 25 a year. That's another 500 to 800 people. That are going to be downtown somewhere.
Doesn't the visitor center also
Yes,
provide
the
information?
visitor center does have the brochures as well.
Okay, all right. All right, I think we've beat this one up enough. Is that okay? So that we
I
can
think
get moving.
Just one
Okay.
other, sorry, I apologize. One other, I just wanted to highlight, I know you're getting into the committee reports, and so this might bleed into it a little bit, but I have Ms. Clark here with me, and her team was working on the pre-approved outdoor dining furniture document that came before you before, and we're almost complete with it. Right now, we've done some tweaking to it and just changed the structure a bit. We have a couple ADA tables in the pre-approved outdoor dining form at the moment, and we'll be continuing to update it to add a couple additional as well.
And so what's the ETA for when you think this work will be completed and available to the public?
So we will be going back to the Historic Landmarks Commission, who will ultimately approve the document or make a decision on the document, and that'll happen in January. So should be in January sometime.
And I know I had sent in some comments, and my feelings won't be hurt if you don't take all of the comments, but just in general, when you assume that business owners know what is compliant, they don't. And I think that was really evident when we did the parklets. There was just a general note that you needed to comply, but I'm not sure if half of the businesses didn't because they just don't have that knowledge or know where to look. And so I just encourage you to put out as much information as possible to make it easier for business owners to know what is required.
Definitely. We have your comments, and we'll be making sure that we have a number of different items that a business owner can actually just go directly and say, I need an ADA table, and here's 4 options, and I want to pick this one, or I want to pick this one in this color, and trying to make it as simple as possible, so that it becomes something relatively easy for a business owner to do and put out there and be compliant and have a table that works.
Well, thank you so much for that update.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to now go to the committee reports. Sidewalk Ad Hoc Committee. I know we haven't had a meeting, so I don't think we have anything to report there. The Parking Ad Hoc Committee. Did anyone meet?
And which one?
Okay. Outdoor dining in State Street. We just kind of touched on that. We also haven't had that. The Recognition Committee. Does anyone want to give an update on what happened at the last meeting?
Skylar's hands up.
Sure. So, I attended the city council meeting in, I believe, early October, where the awards were given out Bob Burnham unfortunately had an illness and was unable to attend his, but I spoke on his behalf, and I think a couple others did as well. And so, yeah, it was a good ceremony, and there's a chance that Bob Burnham's might be repeated when he's well enough to attend.
All right, thank
I
you.
also wanted to say that I made a request that we give out little certificate awards to the members. I don't know if the city will make the award or our committee should make the award.
The members
To-
of what? Of the Access?
Which members?
You said members. Give the awards to what members?
I think she meant nominees.
The people who we recognize.
Oh, sure.
At the city council meeting, if we can put together a little certificate, either directly from our group or from the city, for them to have as a keepsake.
Well,
Same.
I would recommend that should come from the city with, the recommendation of the Access Advisory Committee. They are the ones that vote on it. We're recommending it. Again, we're advisory. So we're recommending that these individuals or organizations be acknowledged and recognized, and then the city council is the one that actually recognizes them. So I think a certificate is absolutely appropriate, but it ought to come from the city council.
Can we do that, Brian?
We could consider that moving forward. I think the past few years, it's just been kind of a not so official, but in council chambers, so it's getting a lot of exposure and attention from the council and from the community. But yeah, that's something we could
Is there
look
any
at.
way we could do it for the ones recently too?
I'll have to check in on that and see.
Okay.
It depends if it's coming from staff versus if council is signing off on it, then that would
Okay.
require going back.
Or could we have one within our group here? Just say the access, like this, Access Advisory Certificate Appreciation.
Yeah, I think doing something like that is definitely
We can do it
more
within our
achievable.
committee?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
I agree, and I think it's more in keeping with the intent of this kind of pilot that I proposed. The city already does their own recognition, the mayor's awards, and I thought that it was important that this committee recognize others as well. Because I can't escape the feeling that there's a little bit of politics behind the mayor's award, and ours is more from the people who are actually living the experience.
yeah,
And-
because Brian could sign one similar to
or,
this one.
or these committee members could sign it.
Yeah, all of the committee
yeah.
members, true, yes.
Anyway, I kind of see this as a pilot. We're 2 years in now, and I want to kind of evaluate whether or not it's being judged successful and worthy of
Right.
moving forward.
I forgot to mention Chris Benedict was there, and he spoke, and seemed very happy with the award.
All right. All right, so we'll move on to Special Events Ad Hoc Committee. Nothing to report? Okay.
I just wanted to say, again, that I hope special events can be inclusive of all events that the public attend. So I know that we have a Christmas parade coming up. Is that on State Street, or where will that be?
I think we're still not doing parades on State Street, if I'm remembering correctly.
Will there be one on Milpas?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. And I guess from the work I put into special events, I just wanted to make sure there was a designated space with signs for handicap that have easy parking access and are advertised to the public via whatever media, that if someone in a wheelchair or walker want to attend, there is parking and seating for them.
So I just wanted to give you an update I did reach out to different groups about the Christmas parade, which would be on Milpa Street. Those organizations said they would not be able to participate because it's in the evening, and so their staff isn't available. We reached out to the school board to see if we could use Santa Barbara Junior High as accessible parking, which anyone could park there and they can reach the parade. It's just that the organizations that participated with the Fiesta Parade just wouldn't have the staff to be able to do it at night. So we did have that conversation, but it just seemed that there wasn't enough people that wanted to be able to organize that the way we did the Fiesta Parade. Right. Okay, so then do we,
I don't know if it's a problem of organization to put out signs.
no, I think that's easy.
Yeah, just, I know when I went to the Pride Festival, they again had their raised booth, so, and with a ramp up to it, so people could view the stage, and this year, it was actually close enough to see the stage without umbrellas blocking. But the problem was, they wrote in magic markers by hand and put it on the stage, and they didn't have the blue handicap accessible on it. So they did everything right, but advertise it so that you know what this raised stage was. So it's just, it's little details, and hopefully everything will come together with all our events.
All right, so we're going on to the ADA Transition Plan Committee. Any?
Nothing new there. We'll be hearing from Aaron
Right.
shortly.
All right, Santa Barbara Police Station, I still haven't worked on it because life has gotten complicated. So, but I did print up those plans, and so I did start to mark the details. All
Can
right,
I ask Brian real quick, what's the, is the whole delay settled yet? I know they have found some material there they had to excavate, so.
There was a slight delay just dealing with low-level contaminated soils, which is expected at pretty much any downtown site.
Sure.
But they've gotten through that. They've been through that for a while now, and the project is moving along pretty much on schedule. I think it's just a handful, single-digit number of days that were lost
Okay.
as a result of
Thanks.
that.
then how is it that's $5.5 million more because of that? If it's just a little thing?
It's a lot of trucking and higher tipping fees for the disposal site, and it did complicate just the sequencing of the work a little bit. But yeah, it doesn't, it's amazing how quickly things can add up when you're hauling. I forget how many truck trips it was, but I think we had some days where it was over 100 truck trips per day. And not all of it was contaminated, but there were some days where a good portion of it was.
Okay. All right. So then on to the power-driven mobility device discussions. So did every member get a chance? It is, there's a flyer here on the side counter. Did anyone get a chance to review what is being proposed? Does everyone feel like they've had enough time to have read this and give input that's relevant and helpful?
Yes, I read it twice.
I mean, I did read all of it. I have some questions, but does anyone else have any, I guess, desire to have a little more time before we make a motion?
I would like a little bit more time, but
Okay.
And I think Nick should be able to give a little talk.
I did prepare a introductory presentation, just a couple minutes. I put this package together. So I appreciate the opportunity to bring forward this item, which I believe will strengthen the city's approach to accessibility and help ensure consistent ADA-compliant treatment of mobility devices across our parks, sidewalks, and public places. I'd like to introduce a framework for developing a city policy regarding other power-driven mobility devices, aka OPDMDs. You may or may not be aware that under federal ADA regulations, OPDMDs are powered mobility devices used by people with mobility disabilities that fall outside of the traditional wheelchair definition. Everything from segways to mobility trikes to certain custom assistive devices. Right now, the city of Santa Barbara does not have a published policy on this, which means that each department and each enforcement officer is left to make case-by-case judgments. Often without clear guidance, at the same time, the city is engaged in increasing enforcement around e-bikes and or micromobility, the little shared scooters, shared bikes, which creates the potential for confusion and accidental over-restriction of legitimate assistive devices. So why does the city of Santa Barbara need this policy? A formal OPDMD policy helps the city follow the ADA requirements to permit these devices under, or unless a restriction is justified using the DOJ's 5 assessment factors, which are the size, weight, and speed, pedestrian volumes, trail or facility characteristics, legitimate safety requirements, and environmental resource impacts. Establishing this framework does 3 things. It protects access for residents with mobility disabilities, gives our enforcement and park staff clarity, reducing ambiguity, and helps distinguish OPDMDs from recreational vehicles, which is increasingly important with our focus on micromobility safety. So what I'm proposing today is I'm not asking the committee to adopt policy today. My request is simply that we begin developing a city OPDMD framework. I've circulated a draft ordinance outline, a 1-page summary, and examples from nearby jurisdictions. My goal today is to invite discussion, hear staff input, especially from the city attorney's office, and identify whether the committee would like to formally recommend that staff begin drafting a policy for council consideration. I'm very grateful that the city's attorney office has taken an interest in this. I heard that somebody was attending today, maybe online. Because interpretation of the ADA and integration with local code is essential. So I look forward to their guidance on the most appropriate path forward. In summary, having a clear OPDMD policy is both an accessibility win and an operational win for the city. I'm looking forward to our discussion and to hearing staff perspectives on next steps.
Brian, any word from the attorney? I know that I think you talked to him about this, right? Did he have any input?
Yeah, well, I did reach out to the attorney. I was hoping he could be here today, and I'm pretty sure he said he wasn't able to be here in person. I don't know if he was able to make it online, but I do want to just kind of additionally frame the item. Thank you, Committee Member Kuntz, for bringing this forward and for introducing it. Staff puts agenda items together, so we sort of have veto power in a way when things like this get recommended. So I was approached about whether or not we wanted to have this discussion, and really my reaction to it, I look at it like I'm somebody who personally really enjoy the outdoors and being on trails, and this is a way where we can make it easier for folks who don't have that same ability to get out and enjoy those things, just to make it easier and make it more straightforward, because I think there is some ambiguity under federal law. Yeah, you could take one of these devices out there today and just go and use it and assert your right to do that, but that makes it challenging for staff in those operational areas on how to manage that, how to handle that, because some people may need it for mobility purposes, and then a very similar looking device, or maybe even the exact same device, might be used somebody purely for recreational purposes who don't have the need. So I think it's a really good topic of conversation. So when it was brought to me, it was pretty easy for me to say, yes, let's put it on the agenda, let's have the conversation. I don't know where it'll lead to beyond today, but I'm hoping that there can be follow-up conversation. We'll probably need to bring in staff from other departments, bring in city attorney, and just have further conversation. But I am very curious to hear from committee members on this and see where this leads.
Well, I have a couple of comments. I mean, I did take a look at at all of the pages here, so thank you so much for getting that together. And I think I didn't mark it. I was reading it on my phone, so I didn't get to mark the pages. But one of the things that kind of raised a little bit of concern for me is there somewhere here that mentions that you're able to ask the person, are you disabled, or how to determine whether...
Section 5, number 8.
Which one is it?
Section 5, number 8.
Okay, so, I mean, generally, under accessibility kind of, information, you're not allowed to ask someone about their disability. So it kind of puts us in conflict with that general premise. And so how do we get around that? If you're not able to, if you go to a restaurant, you're not able to ask about the pet that you have because you're not supposed to. I mean, then why is that different? Why can you ask that of someone with these mobility devices that,
Well, we do it for parking, correct? Right? We
you have a
require-
placard, you have a
Yeah.
placard.
And
So is
that's-
this to get some kind of placard that you would get?
So I think, if I recall, this framework outlines that the state issued disabled person's parking placard could be one way of validating or verifying that someone has a legitimate need.
So are you suggesting then that they take their placard with them on this device? So then that way, any employee would be able to see, okay, so this person, I can't ask this person because they've got this placard. So, I mean.
Potentially,
Okay. And that was my only concern is how do we differentiate, or do we have a little sticker that someone gets and, they can put this on their, whatever device they're using to just designate, hey, I'm able to do this because I have a temporary disability, whatever it is that, that I can.
And look, as we all know, not all disabilities are visible.
Right.
And, there are a whole variety of intellectual, that, somebody may need to ride a
Right.
vehicle not designed for disability assistance, but as it even says, in here very clearly, although it's not designed, whether or not designed primarily for individuals with disabilities, that it's used for mobility disability for the purpose of locomotion. So somebody with a non-visible disability, could be riding an e-bike because wherever they are on the spectrum, that's what they need to
Right.
be able to get around. That's the only way they can transport themselves, or whatever. We don't know all those things.
Right.
We'll
No,
never
no,
know them.
Exactly. So, I mean, I'm in that same
The
boat.
other side of that is there's a lot of abuse. And
Understood.
people taking up handicapped parking spaces. And so there should be something identifiable that, yes, here's a card from my doctor or whatever. Because if I go back to in San Diego, where they do not allow an able-bodied person to park a handicapped vehicle with a placard in a handicapped space. So if the driver is not handicapped, they cannot use that space. If they use that space, they get ticketed, okay, because they're able-bodied. They're using the vehicle to assist an able-bodied person, to drop off an able-bodied person, but they can't just use a handicapped space if they're able-bodied. And the city says they raise a tremendous amount of revenue from ticketing people for that purpose.
Yeah.
So, Chair Sorgman,
Which itself is illegal.
to get to the point of Committee Member Rassler's note that under Section 5 operational requirements, item number 8, credible assurance, upon inquiry by a peace officer or ranger, an operator may be asked to provide credible assurance that the device is required for mobility disability purposes. Example, disability placard, state ID, or verbal attestation. No medical documentation shall be demanded.
I was just saying that
Yeah.
It wasn't a question, I was just answering
Correct, that's what I
Chairwoman Sorgman's question, that's
Yep.
where it's located.
Right. So that is my initial suggestion on how that might be verified. Certainly, every section in this proposed ordinance could be improved upon. It's just a first draft, and
Yeah,
to.
I mean, I have no issue with what you're proposing. I'm just wondering how, I mean, it's a very sensitive topic, and how do we approach it? That's all. That's all.
Agreed. And,
Yeah.
and I think it's very helpful for city staff, whether that's police or park staff, to have some guidance on how to approach it. Because I think that there would be, without guidance, there would be a lot of potential conflict that we could avoid.
And I think we're going to need a lot of input from those very,
Yep.
characters and players, within this city and without. And I'd like to first of all commend Nick on this first draft. I think it's really outstanding. It covers a lot of territory. There's some stuff that 100% absolutely I wouldn't change a word of, and other stuff, I and others are going to have issues with, or just how it's worded or whatever. But great jumping off point. I think this document, though, should be shared with those other stakeholders.
Yeah.
Those other different departments, those, other community elements, whatever they may be. But that additional input, will help in the conversation and fine tuning, of the language so that it's not only acceptable on a pre-presented state, if you will, where we already have their input and where it's going to go. Better to kind of know where you want to end and start with that in mind. If we want to end with this being accepted and embraced widely and be enforceable, well, then we need those people to participate at the beginning in creating it,
Yep.
in my mind.
I agree.
Just process management. Great start.
Suzanne, may I put you on the spot?
Yes.
You remind me of someone who would probably like to have this vehicle.
Well,
So
the
can-
thing my first thought was when this discussion started, like, okay, I need an example of, just give me an example. But then I have my own personal example where I have an electric three-wheel tricycle and this is not a city property, but I take it to Illings Park, where they specifically say no electric bikes. But I go anyway because
Yeah.
it's not for fun, it's for mobility, for that I can go. And I haven't been stopped and asked, but I do feel a little bit, I'm like, should I carry something with me to say that I'm disabled? I could just prove it. That I met somebody. But I do, I'm pretty open about it, so I tell people. But, it would be kind of nice, that's not a city property, but I also take it to the Douglas Preserve, which doesn't have any limitations or no signs, and so, but I think that,
Like the open space.
yeah, or
It's
like.
open
or
space
here's-
across from Ealing's and
Right.
cases like that.
Or here's an example, like, say I want to go to Shoreline, okay? I used to walk that in my walker, and I still could do that, or I could take my wheelchair, but what if I want to take my electric trike? It's a little bit big, maybe, for that sidewalk. I think basically, it's all based on my personal, it just seems hard for me to figure out how we can make rules that apply to all situations. This is a really good start. I like, the idea of an accessible label or something that you can have on the trike saying that you need it for accessibility might alleviate a lot of the awkwardness.
Like a little placard
Yeah,
for
or
your
just, or like,
bicycle or,
like you
yeah,
don't feel
because
like you
other
have to
people say,
explain.
oh, I saw someone do that, I'll do that,
Right.
Unless you identify your vehicle as, it's for handicap use.
Right.
Right?
So it's like, like if you have a service animal, you have a badge on them, right, that they're a service dog. I mean, I think that that might be helpful to kind of alleviate that awkwardness. But I mean, I think this is a really good, I really thank you for
You're very welcome.
tackling this. It's really complicated.
Appendix A has a little sample information card. It's the second to the last sheet. And that's, an optional card that could be downloaded, printed, and carried by people so that they can help educate enforcement staff or operations staff. Because while I'm presenting this here for city consideration, I think that your point to a private park like Ealing's could also come up, and it would be helpful for them to understand the protections under the ADA. And then there was something else. I'm concerned for a situation where someone who had, like, your tricycle might be cited under some violation of the e-bike policy in Santa Barbara. I think there's potential for conflict there. And I know I'm charging ahead with my own special construction vehicle, but I'm more cavalier about this kind of thing, and other people are not, and may hesitate because there's lack of understanding, guidance, and confusion with enforcement. One of the things that I'm concerned about with my build is I'm concerned my vehicle could be seen as more akin to an all-terrain, off-highway use vehicle. Although I'm trying to keep it small, it has bigger tires so that potentially I can take my dog for a walk on the beach. So it might look like an ATV. I might have to drive it on city streets, and I might have to deal with, traffic enforcement or vehicle code enforcement rules. And this policy could help mitigate those.
Because I don't think that should be an issue at all, all those things.
Right.
It should not be. And
Should not be
under
at all.
federal ADA, it's not. But getting city staff, whether that's police officers, parks, whatever, getting private facility operators to understand that is the challenge and what I'm hoping to achieve with this.
Outstanding. I did have one comment in reading this over, that I would just throw out in the spirit of conversation and discussion. On the prohibited uses, which is section 7, it is unlawful to. I think there's some potential that number 3 is just completely inappropriate in my mind, which is to use an OPDMD for recreational racing, stunts, or acrobatics. Well, why? Able-bodied people do this all the time with their bikes, their scooters, their skateboards, their motorcycles, everything else. If you're blessed to have one of these, other powered motor devices, why can't you have fun with it?
Well, I think
Why would you make that illegal?
I would
unlawful?
say that it's mostly to assuage the fears of.
I understand completely. No parent wants their kid doing something risky and silly, or
Well,
nobody wants their dad doing something really
It's a
ridiculous.
safety concern as well, right?
But people have individual choice.
Yeah.
And I think that outweighs our need to control what they do for recreation and pleasure. And just because somebody is disabled should not mean that they cannot use their accessory device to have fun.
Yeah.
It's just that
Nick's
simple.
is
So
dealing with
that's
the
all I'm
fact
saying.
They have all these wheelie guys on State Street,
And that's fine.
right?
This is
Try to
not
get rid of that.
Right.
a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Whole nother animal.
I'm not looking for
You understand what I'm
federal
saying, though.
ADA to give me a license to do wheelies on State Street when we want no one else to do it. Okay? That's my point here. Where there is an area where I do think this regulation could provide people with disabilities a much-needed exception to current regulations, local ordinance on e-bikes. A lot of the state and local e-bike regulation currently is focusing on motor size, current capacity, and I'm feeling like I'm going to need to exceed, and there's also this component of you can't have certain motor capacity without pedal assist. Then it becomes viewed as a motorcycle. Well, I'm not going to have any pedal assist, and I'm going to need that extra power to push my considerable weight across uneven terrain. So, but I'm going to gear that power down so that I took a spill on this at 5 miles an hour recently, and I realized I don't want to take another spill like that, and I certainly don't want to do it faster. Right? So I am gearing my vehicle down so it's, 10 mile an hour tops. Even though it has this high capacity motor that would be classified as a motorcycle, not an e-bike, it's all, tractor like torque. It's not high end speed.
Like you're driving, put it in snow or mountain gear.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the ratio.
All right, so we are over our time in terms of just where we're supposed to be. So
Okay.
if, Nick, you and I can coordinate and maybe get this distributed to the different departments just to get input to start the dialogue?
So
That sound like an okay plan?
I think maybe we need a motion to move forward, ask that staff come back with next steps.
All right, who would like to make that motion?
So moved.
All right, second?
Second.
All right, so those in favor of moving this forward and giving direction to staff, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is anyone against this? No? All right, so then that is passed. All right,
I
so,
would ask real quick, is there a way to get this, as Michael said, to other people who might be interested besides city staff?
I mean, we've already got the document. It's published on the website now, as of a couple days ago. So how we inform people about that's the only question.
Okay.
So we're all certainly
connected to other organizations so we can spread the word.
And free to do that. Do we want to give direction or request staff bring this to any specific body or individual's attention?
I think all of the other departments that would be classified as, quote, stakeholders,
Yep.
in terms of accessibility,
Yeah.
so, should have an opportunity to weigh in and
So-
share their input.
In terms of direction for staff to come back, do we want to suggest this get run by SBPD, by Parks and Rec, by
I don't think we
city
need to
attorney?
specify beyond the relevant stakeholders throughout
Okay.
the, departmental structure of the city of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
The operational structure. Our ADA compliant officers should know who and where to send it to. We don't
Okay.
need to specify that.
So Brian, can you give some feedback
Right.
to us now about what next steps
Yeah,
might look
so
like?
based on the direction from the committee, I'm planning to reach out to other stakeholder departments. Prior to this agenda item, I did already reach out to Parks and Rec, so they are aware of this. They knew we were going to have this discussion today. I didn't reach out to them until I think last week or late the week before, but they were okay with having this initial discussion. I think the next step is then to bring in those other departments and then take it back to the committee with some staff feedback, and then the committee now will have a little bit more time to digest this too. And
Yeah.
there's a bunch of important things that were brought up already just today in the brief conversation that we had. So, and then of course the city attorney who was not able to be here today. I think there's some legal and procedural questions that we all will have for city attorney. So that would be the game plan moving forward.
What about waterfront?
Yes, for sure.
Because the beach, going to.
So, since we're unanimously in favor of moving this forward, and in the interest of not limiting progress to our quarterly discussions, do we want to consider putting this under the purvey of an existing ad hoc committee or creating a new one? Does anybody have any thoughts on that? I'd be inclined to try and fit it under an existing ad hocs purvey, but I would be, I'm only hesitant to create another ad hoc that doesn't meet as frequently as maybe it should, but I do not want to see this, wait for quarterly meetings.
These sidewalks, I guess, so that there's some places where these
Yeah,
refer to that aren't sidewalks.
Well, I see it maybe fitting with ADA transition plan, just
yeah.
kind of general.
yeah,
We can include that there.
yeah, this
Okay.
is ADA policy, I agree that it fits there.
Okay.
Does that work for you, Brian?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Great.
Okay, all right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break because we're 15 minutes behind schedule. And then we'll come back for the ADA transition plan update, and we'll grill Craig. At 11:15.
Picture of me at the desk.
So we've got approximately 15 minutes to be able to get this meeting done at 11:30. So if we can go ahead and open up the meeting again. All right, so Craig, you're on.
With everybody. With everybody in it.
That's hard for me to do if I'm on this side.
Oh, okay. Do they know if they decided on another person?
All right, so everybody take a look at the camera so we can have one picture for Karen. All right,
Which way?
she wants to take a picture.
Which way is the camera?
By the street. I mean, not the street, the parking lot.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so Craig, you want to go ahead and start the 88 transition plan update and all the great things that you are proposing get done soon?
Sure, and some things that have gotten done. So,
Woohoo!
I'm not hearing you on the speakers.
can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. So last time, in fact, I don't think I was here last time. I think I had to call in, was out, but I had promised to give us sort of more of a statistical update, and I don't know how helpful they are, but I promised it, so here it is. Since I shared the statistics back in January of this year, at that time we had completed the city since the transition plan was written in 2007 had completed roughly 1,800 items in those 17 years.
No, wait, how many items?
Approximately 1,800, call
Okay,
it.
okay.
Close enough. Now, so that worked out to about 107 items per year was sort of the average. This year, we've completed 125 items, so we're at or exceeding the average anyway. And I don't know if that's so important as it is to that we're focused on the priorities that we had talked about at the ad hoc meetings, which were path of travel from parking, which includes site concrete, flat work, detectable warnings, that type of thing. The other item was doors and hardware, mostly being a high priority. Any items in restrooms and cabinetry and countertops, especially at service counters. So, and building signage was identified as an important feature. So one of the packages that we are completing as we speak, and you might have seen them here today, is the signage package for this building will be complete as of today. In fact, you can look right behind you there at the doorway, the fire exit sign. That's a brand new sign that was on the transition plan as a deficient missing item. So building wide, this 630 Garden Street is now essentially rectified, with the caveat that there were some physical constraints, some doors and alcoves and that kind of thing that don't really allow for a truly compliant reach ranges and that type of thing, but the good faith effort was definitely made, and I would call it 90-something% of these signs are truly compliant with the current building code. We also embarked on a stair striping bid package, which is multiple facilities, but we had a number of stairways that had no contrasting strips, and it was obviously dangerous for sight issues, visibility issues. So those two packages are complete. I've mentioned before that City Hall is in the process of doing a large barrier removal project, and that will address 400 or so more items on this list. Now that is in plan check now, in fact. I should say it's in, it needs HLC clearance first, but it will go to plan check before the end of this year to stay in this code cycle. And that'll be an elevator, restrooms, doors and hardware, signage, building-wide barrier removal.
Craig, does that also cover the, lower the counters in the building office?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then also on the exterior, there's an access up that ramp, and that all gets
Sure.
reconfigured. So, yeah, a major effort is in the works here for City Hall.
And I've noticed the stair striping is disappearing from the east side of the City Hall.
Oh,
It's been worn down.
oh,
Yeah.
sure.
As always. Okay.
Well, that's a good segue, because one of the next major package that we have actually under contract, they haven't started work yet, is a door and hardware package that will also, the contract is issued to a door company, and they're going to go around and adjust closer rates, replace knobs with levers, kick plates, thresholds, anything you can think of related. Oh, they'll add power assisted when needed in certain cases, but it's a major citywide contract that I'm not actually handling myself. We have a facilities maintenance division, which goes to your stair striping,
Okay.
wearing away. But facilities maintenance takes care of maintenance items, when we're more on the side of, capital projects. So.
And you said this is citywide, so this is not just the things from the 88 plan, but this is a citywide?
Well, it's both is
Okay.
the answer, because the plan falls under the umbrella of citywide.
Is there a procedure to alert city maintenance staff to issues, specifically this door automation has failed? I reported it last week to chief building official when we were here for the Building and Fire Safety Code Board of Appeals, but it's still failing this morning.
This door is still not working?
Still not working.
Okay.
And the outdoor door?
Well, the outdoor one opened, but then it stayed stuck open for a long period of time and made a
Thank you, Daisy.
big noise.
I'm not 100% clear on what the workflow is for the city for facilities maintenance once they receive, that Megan Salas is the person there, and I will follow up with her and get back to you on that. I don't know the workflow, but I assume there is a procedure.
Well,
I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I would imagine there should be priority to buildings that are used by the public.
Well, back to what Jim was asking citywide, the focus is on these 8 priorities, well, 9, I guess, if you count police station, but the focus is on these 9 priority sites, for sure, as a priority.
Salis, S-A-L-I-S?
AS.
A-S.
So going forward, our bid packages follow the priorities, and they also follow readily achievable. For example, assistive listening systems weren't mentioned necessarily in the ad hoc as a priority, but very easy to go ahead and add the headphones and or tie into an existing system. Like at City Hall, we can just expand that system. Site furnishings, tables, benches, trash cans, all of that, that's a readily achievable package. What I call Division 10 is building specialties. A lot of that is just adjustments of, like, a fire extinguisher cabinet is located too high, or reach ranges are improper. And then furniture relocation. We have an issue, every building, probably not just city, but I would guess everybody's guilty of this, of placing a file cabinet that narrows an access aisle, for example, and we're doing our best to relocate and or get rid of if we can digitize things, but we're trying to relocate. There's a furniture relocation package in the works. And then a site signage, which is more parking lots type of thing, to rectify the deficiencies in identifying van accessible spaces, tow-away signs, that type of thing. So that's the bid packages that were either completed or we're working on at this point. And I have a list of completed projects and in-progress projects that I won't read through today because it's pretty long, actually, to the city's credit, actually. Since our last meeting, since I was able to do some additional research to try to, Jim had mentioned, give yourself credit where you've done something. So this is that list, and I'll share that with you all after this meeting.
Can you send that by email? Or?
Yeah, sure, whatever you like, yeah.
Be great to see.
Yeah. Okay, so the next part of the transition plan update is just to make you aware of resources that the city has allocated. So as you know, before I was hired, or I should say before the principal architect position was created, Brian was left to do this on his own. And so, but since that time, my position was created, and then I've added Maya. You've met Maya before. And we've recently added Ashley Lopez, who also works with Maya, to supplement things that we haven't really talked about, and we'll get to that at some point, but there are hundreds of sites around the city that are not these 9 priority sites. For example, 53 parks, 7 fire stations, et cetera, that Ashley is going to backfill and back check and at least in the near future, tell us what is remaining from the general evaluations. For example, Louise Lowry Davis Center over there, that was one of the general fund or general evaluations as a Parks and Rec property. That is basically rectified since 2007 due to 2 or 3 projects in the intervening time, most recently last year. So Ashley is going to go back and cross off the list of all of the things that are completed because I think it looks a lot worse than it really is, frankly. And I think we need to.
You mean the report looks worse?
Yes. I mean, honestly, we don't even have a way to convey what the status is. So similar to what I've done with these 9 sites, she's going to spearhead these 200 sites, or locations, I should say. And then the other thing is the city is adding CASP certified staff as in progress. Jose Barajas is a plan check supervisor. He is CASP certified. The other gentleman's name, I always forget. There is another one.
Is it Jimmy? He used to be the electrical inspector?
Yes,
Okay.
Jimmy, yes. And then we have quarterly or biannual trainings with John Caparelli. And in those trainings, they are effectively to recruit people to get CASP certified. And there are anywhere from 10 to 20 people in those trainings. So there is a high interest level. And I think over the next year or so, we'll at least double the amount of CASP certified staff that we have.
Now, are you still seeking that?
I am. Unfortunately, they only do it every 4 months. So the next one's February, and honestly, I don't think I'll be ready. With the holidays in between there, it's February 5th, I believe. So I just don't see it happening. June is my target. So on the CASP note, though, one thing we talked about at the last meeting was a better way of doing our plan check protocol to make it more robust. And so we have now initiated the idea of hiring a CASP certified firm to quality control drawings before we even submit them to the building department. For example, Carrillo Gym is looking at doing an interior barrier removal project next year. And we have received proposals from Sally Swanson and another firm called Colby, who I wasn't familiar with prior to this, but one of those two will be contracted to QC the drawings and then do in-progress inspections during construction and a final inspection. So we're trying to respond to the charge of making this process more robust and a little bit more bulletproof, I think.
And I think those are really great, goals to try to reach because it is complicated and there's really nuanced. It's easy to miss something and it's easy to catch it on paper versus when you're under construction. So
Right.
that's I think money well spent is to try to figure out ahead of time what needs to be corrected. So
Absolutely, yeah, it's
Can I ask,
good for everyone.
with the training events with Caparelli, are you seeing Parks and Rec staff attending those?
Yes, Justin Van Mullum in particular, who is a licensed architect himself. He is their capital manager, really Jill Zachary's right hand.
Okay.
And, well, he's the only one that comes to mind, but there may have been others that I may not even know who they are in that room. Kevin? Oh, Kevin Strasberg, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. He's expressed interest in becoming certified as well.
Great.
But I'm really more encouraging the inspectors and plan checkers.
Yep.
That's really where, on the front end and on the back end, it gets covered. And I'd really like to see the city have those resources in place.
I agree. However, we have seen time and time again where Parks doesn't go through the typical
permit process.
process of getting a permit. They self-permit and they self-regulate and they do a poor job of it.
Looks good to me.
So that's about it, unless there are questions.
So I had some questions for you. I know the last time we talked about the stair striping, it's not needed at every riser and an interior stair, and you were going to check that?
We did it anyway.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I believe it is required anyway, so.
It's not an interior stair,
No, I understand.
but it's okay to
exterior.
do more.
We just,
Yeah.
we can't lose. I mean, in fact, a lot of them were already done that way, like this one going up to the second floor. It already had that, but they were not compliant, so we just rectified it we did every tread.
Right, okay. And then you mentioned that there were some doors, just because of alcove and restraint, site restraints that weren't allowing you to have the right landing and clearances for have you looked at then power operated as being used in lieu of?
Oh,
getting that?
yes, yeah.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I was speaking about the signage. So for example, if you have a door and you're on the strike side of the door is where the sign normally mounts, but a lot of times that's right up against
Right.
a perpendicular wall. So the only answer really, frankly, is to turn it and put it on the perpendicular wall. Very few, though, like I said, I would guess under 5% of those instances are like that.
okay, all right. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Quick question on CASP. What's actually going on with the police station with the CASP reviews and stuff? We talked about this for quite a while, having different times, different inspectors. So what do you have now set up for a CASP at the police station?
I'll have Brian take that. Yeah. I'll check with Brad Hess, who's managing that project. It's still a while before they really get completely out of the ground, but I have talked to him in the past about having somebody on board. I know during the design phase, it was Carlson, am I remembering that last name correctly?
Yeah.
Was involved. But he was part of the design team, so it may be good during this construction phase to have a more independent reviewer.
Yeah, I just remember that he allowed what are those, the baby, you
The
can't.
changing table?
The changing table inside, and you can't have that anymore. So there were certain things that he allowed that really shouldn't have been.
Well, thank you for the report and update, and congrats on all you've accomplished and what you've got laid out coming ahead.
Oh, thank you.
No, sounds really good, a lot better than what we've been hearing before.
Good, good. I think we're making some progress.
Thank you.
All right, then I think we are adjourned. Yay, only 3 minutes late.